Raphaelle Ramos, Philippines, Peace X Improv. So what's improvisational theater? It's spontaneous. It's performance done without a script, one that values authenticity and taking care of others on stage. The very first time I sat down and actually watched an improv show, I was fairly surprised because prior to that, I've had some theater training. It was my major before biology, and it's generally intense, catty, and you kind of have to deal with a lot of BS. And there was a power play, and if you couldn't stomach it, then it's very easy to fizzle out of love with theater. And it was my midterms, and I just blanked out on stage. I absolutely froze. I became a shell of a person after that because I received no support. I felt so alone, and there was no good support system in theater at that time. And looking back, obviously, it's very small in the grand scheme of things. But as an 18-year-old, especially coming from the International Baccalaureate, where you're reared to become a perfectionist, that moment took such a long time to process. I made a promise to myself that I won't do anything that isn't fun. Different from if it challenges me. I love a good challenge, but not if it'll be at the cost of my mental health. That improv show was so different. It was like a bunch of friends who were propping each other up. There wasn't any palpable competition. Everyone was so happy to be there, and it felt more real than reciting lines out of a playwright's mouth, and it made me reevaluate if I was so set on leaving behind the theater, because it was a childhood dream, and even if my first go around was marred by disappointment, I didn't want to wallow in that self-pity. I asked myself if it's worth it to put myself out there again, to be judged on stage. I now have an answer for that. Having gone through 2 years of improv, I've learned something about what it means to have both an ego and a sense of humor about myself. Improv class, the first one of the year at my college, the contrast between that and my theater major was stark. It was so comfortable. We go in, do games, scenes, warm-ups. How many of you guys have seen Doraemon, where his white pocket at the front of his cat body has like an endless supply of materials that can just manifest at Doraemon's notice? And practicing improv is kind of like that. When you show up and leave your worries for judgment at the door as baggage and just be yourself and pull those parts of yourself out, improv can be really nurturing. I felt the most at peace learning improv, especially building interpersonal skills, which are necessary for communication and finding individual peace as well, because finding your individual voice is so important to identity, especially among a group that can trust. And an important facet of practicing improv is being your most authentic self. As a theater kid, I could fit into any role, but the one role I couldn't play is victim, and I wasn't going to let this opportunity to get back out there slip from my fingers. And man, week after week, I found a way to really shine. It was the kind of freedom that a stringent theater program couldn't give in terms of creativity. I was able to say the things I wanted to say. I finally found a community that I have been craving, a healthy support system. And when I got on that stage to perform again, I got the best response I could have ever gotten. I was myself. I was able to entertain, do it with my friends. I was able to take the theater tenets that I learned from improv into my real life. And I remember going backpacking, and look at me, I'm an easy target for anyone. And I remember there was this guy in the middle of the street who started pulling me somewhere, like aggressively, with, I assume, bad intentions. Improv brain clicked, and I remembered new choice. New choice is an idea in improv that if you're uncomfortable with something, you can new choice that immediately without any apprehension. And I remember, okay, improv has given me the tools to set my boundaries, to assert myself and show self-respect. And I think I was able to really adjust myself after that. Even if one can say they're at peace with something, be it a lost opportunity, a past relationship, an ongoing reality, accepting it and being at peace takes constant effort. Even if over time it may take less effort, it's still there. You have to actively seek it for peace to continue. And any moment, peace can just wither away, whether on a global level, like with a ceasefire being broken, or on a personal level, like relapsing. And I have fallen time and time again towards my vice. I admit I used to be a big alcoholic, but I noticed a sharp decline in my reliance on alcohol the more I did improv. And I felt more confidence in myself, more confident in my interpersonal relationships as well. And I mean, come on, first before improv, after improv. So what is my peace pitch? I want to start a study, and more than that, make that study applicable to the third world. While I want more people to see improv as being theater for anyone, not just people who like the arts, the main goal is for that study to be a launch pad for evidence-based data that improv is an ideal theater form to involve mental health conscious youth with a community for creative self-expression. In other words, I want to build an international organization that can help network young peacemakers and turn them into improv practitioners with one another to help promote the form as a way for young people to build interpersonal skills. I see the tenets helping build a better Peace Café, for example, for the Goi Peace Foundation, on Krueger et al.'s 2019 study, in which he monitored 5 clinical outcomes vis-a-vis improv's impact to decrease symptoms in depression, anxiousness, self-esteem, perfectionism, and satisfaction with social roles. And I would very much like to conduct that study here in the Philippines, give it a third world or a more global perspective. Currently, I have begun sampling with 10 participants who are improv practitioners with the guidance of a former theater professor on pursuant to the study. And I really hope that the Goi Peace Foundation might find this endeavor promising and worth investing in, because I really feel that improv can be a really bright solution for young people who might be suffering, conflicts in their lives, especially in their inner lives, and would like to have that opportunity. But anyways, thank you for listening.